Have you hired a project manager to finally grow your business, get off the tools, have them run your job site, and yet somehow you're still the one running your jobs? You're still the one called when issues happen. You're still the one appeasing the client because something went wrong. You've got to smooth things over. You're still the one answering every text message. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact systems and processes to implement for the project management role so you can once and for all get off the tools and finally grow your construction business without constantly being pulled back to the job site and pulled in 101 different directions, and you can actually focus on your business instead of in your business. In fact, this is the exact same system that I've implemented inside my own construction business that has allowed me to actually only work 10 hours a week in my business because I have created these systems and processes for the project manager. Let me paint the picture for you and let me see if it actually is what's going on in your business. So you've probably hired a project manager, you've explained to them what's going on, and they don't actually follow everything that you said. They're guessing 90% of the time, and so when they guess wrong, you've got to come in and actually fix all the problems. Things fall apart, and so you end up letting them go and taking back over the job to run it and to keep the job running. At the same time, have to run your business and run the projects and then go find a project manager. So you then hire a new project manager and you're like, okay, here's all the jobs. This is what I want you to do. And then they again don't live up to your expectations. And so you have to let them go. And there's this vicious cycle that just continually happens. And finally you just give up and you're like, it's impossible. I'll just run the jobs myself. It's more simple because then I don't have to go find some random person who's going to go mess up my jobs, mess up my reputation. And I can actually focus on just doing the few jobs that I need to survive and it'll be fine. But we're not in business to survive. We're in business to thrive. I'm Liz Chisholm and I run my construction business on just 10 hours a week. And I help contractors and remodelers put the systems and processes in place, protect their margins so they can actually do the exact same thing. Now, the PM systems and processes that I'm going to talk about in this video are the exact ones that I teach to the contractors that work with me, and it's helped them actually grow and scale their business, get off the tools, work on their business instead of in their business, and help them actually achieve freedom inside their construction business. Now, if you want more videos on me breaking down the exact systems and processes, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that way you can be notified every time I put out more videos on how to run your business with systems and processes so you can get off the tools and actually have the freedom that you wanted your job to give you in the first place. So the first thing that I want you to do when you want to think about the systems and processes for your project management role, for your PM, is to think about what do you really want in a PM? What is that aspirational idea of a project manager? Now, the reason I ask this, and you may think that this is more of a fluffy answer and you're not really going to give you the systems and processes, but we have to start with what our standard is first, because most of the time you're hiring mediocre project managers and then you're like, well, I'm going to systemize this, and you can never grow your business. So you've got to start with what does the dream project manager look like in my business? What do they do? What do they not do? What are they going to take off my plate? What is it that they're going to tell me on a weekly basis that's going to give me peace of mind? You just need a brain dump so that way you can actually build the systems for that standard instead of lowering your standard and then you get the mediocre employees. I'm not saying that everyone you've hired has actually been a mediocre employee, but they've acted as a mediocre employee because they've had mediocre systems and processes. In fact, some of them may have been A players. You just didn't know it because your systems actually hid their talent in your business. Now, the peace of mind question is one of the biggest things that I don't see anybody talk about, but it's the thing that keeps people up at night. So your project manager may do all the things that you tell them to do, and they're doing this whole checklist, but if you were to go away on a vacation for 2 weeks, you'd probably be checking your email and checking in, talking to your project manager the entire time because you don't actually have the deep systems and processes in place to actually let go and have a vacation. These are the things that are missing from most SOPs, most playbooks. And so the thing is that you need to figure out what is that. Usually it's 1 or 2 metrics. In fact, when I've worked with contractors to help them put this in, it's really just I need to know these 2 numbers on a weekly basis. And I'd be like, cool, everything is awesome. Peace out. I'm going to go ski in the Alps, which actually one of my contractors did do that. And he was able to enjoy a nice vacation and celebrate his dad's birthday with him in the Swiss Alps. And so I want you to think about what is that peace of mind number? What is that number that if they just tell me this on a weekly basis, or even a daily basis if you're training somebody new, that you would actually have the peace of mind to know that all your jobs are running well, all your jobs are going great and everything is under control. But most of the time, there's all these little things that happen that break trust. And all of a sudden you're like, I don't trust them at all. And then you're checking in and then you're doing work for them and then you're taking things over because you don't think that they're doing it. And then all of a sudden your systems are broken because you don't have that 1 to 2 metrics in place. That's the peace of mind metrics. So that is step number 1. Figure out what is that standard that you want in your business and what does that actually look like at that standard. Do not lower your standard at this point in time because you're going to just set yourself up for failure. Now, step number 2 is where most contractors actually get it wrong. They may sit there and dream like, well, if I just had a project manager that did this, it would be amazing. That's step 1. And so they may have already done that. And maybe you've already done that same thing. But step number 2 is probably the one step that people forget. Step 3 they get, but if you miss step 2, then you're going to be in trouble. Step 2 is taking this laundry list of stuff that you just figured out, you just brainstormed, and converting it from a concept to a behavior. So what do I mean by that? So a lot of times I look at SOPs from different contractors, or I even get them from ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whatever program you want to use, and it's all concept-based. It's like, be professional, check in with subs, keep the jobs on schedule, keep the jobs on budget. That's great. That's great for a job description. That's great for a concept of like, this is the position in a nutshell. That is what they're going to do. That does not translate to behavior. That does not translate to what actually needs to happen in order for that concept to be true. So being professional in the banking world could mean a 3-piece suit. But being professional in the construction world would be ridiculous to wear a 3-piece suit on the job site. Being professional in the job site may for you mean no swearing. It may for you mean no loud music. It may mean no smoking on the job site so the cigarette butts aren't around for the client to see and have to sweep up and there's smell in their house and things like that. You don't want certain things in your house. But if you're just like, hey, I want you to be professional when you're talking with a client or when you're interacting with the subs or whatever, that doesn't give anybody any information. It's all concept-based. So this is the point in time when you have that laundry list, this dream position that you want. You've got this laundry list of all the things that you want them to do that you currently do in your business, but it's all concept-based. You've got to switch it to behavior-based. I want to give you an analogy real quick. When you give a project manager just this laundry list of concepts, it is like handing them the alphabet, the ABCs. Here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you've given them the alphabet. And then you expect them to go and put those letters in the right order with the right combinations so that way they can make a story or write something that you want that's in your head. It's impossible. That's ridiculous. They will never write the thing that you want them to write. Even if they're 20 years in the business, even if they had tons of experience, even if you vetted them correctly in an interview process, they are not going to be able to read your mind. They cannot see what story you have written in your head. They do not know how to arrange the letters to make the stories. They may know how to arrange the letters, they may know how to make a story, but they're not going to make the story that you want in your business written that's going to show who you are, what you do, your reputation, and grow your business. That's the story you have in your mind. And most of the time it's like, well, I'm just going to go like to the computer and I'm just going to like brain dump a bunch of stuff. You're most likely still doing concepts here. We have got to break it down in a way that's behavior-based. Now, when we do behavior-based, all of a sudden clarity starts happening and you're like, oh, in order for my project manager to check in with my subs, I want them to call every single morning and not call every single sub, but only call the subs that are either A, worked the day before, B, are working that day, or C, are going to work within that week. Those are the only subs I'm going to call. I'm not going to go call the roofer if I'm laying the foundation. I'm literally just going to call the subs that are on for that week or did the day before or whatever. Then secondly, I'm going to ask them if it was somebody who worked the day before, what did you do the day before? If it's somebody that's going to work today, what are you planning on getting done today? And then if it's somebody who's working this week, are you on schedule for this week? Those are the 3 questions you ask them, and that's it. Now, you could also maybe ask them if they're in charge of material or something, then you could ask them, hey, do you have all the materials ready? And so there's no delays in the schedule because of that. You could add that additional question. When we break it down into that, all of a sudden it's easier for your project manager to call up a sub and be like, oh, this sub worked yesterday. I asked them what they got done. This is going to give you the information you need to go update the client or have them update the client. But if you just pick up the phone and like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Like, you good? Everything good? You on schedule? Good? You have no idea if it's actually true. And so this is why you have to write down every single thing that's conceptual based. Now, I have a process for this that makes it super easy, so I can make playbooks in like 3 hours max. But this is what I mean by behavior-based versus concept-based. So once you get that laundry list, you can go through and go, okay, what is the behavior that I want for this particular action to happen? And if they do this behavior, will by default, we get to this goal. If they do these behaviors, will by default, they be professional. If they do these behaviors, will by default, naturally, they don't even have to try because they just go through this list, they will be on time on their jobs, they will be on budget, and the client will be happy. This is where all of your SOPs, your standard operating procedures that I combine and all go together into making a playbook, this is where they either live or they die. And most of the time they die because it's concept-based, not behavior-based. So the next step, and this is where I help my clients the most, you could use AI for this, but this is where I layer on my proven systems and processes and make sure that there's no holes. Because if you are stuck in the day-to-day operations of your business and you're not making as much money as you want to be making, there's probably holes in the way you do stuff. So although you've got all this brain dump that you just did for the first couple of steps, now it's time to actually optimize that brain dump and to actually make the systems work for you. When I work with somebody, I layer on that and I'm like, oh, actually, we need to implement this. Oh, I see a hole here. Let's fill it with this SOP. Oh, what are you doing in that regard? Oh, I don't know, nothing. Okay, this is how we're going to do that. This is the steps and processes. Now you could ask ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to help you with this and be like, hey, act as my coach. Probably not quite as effective, but definitely better than most people get for making a playbook. Then after that, the final step is you want to make a cadence. So you've got all these SOPs and you've got all this behavior you want them to do, what you want them to do to achieve these results. But now it's time to go, okay, how do you organize that into a week? Okay, Monday we do this, Tuesday we do this, Wednesday we do this. When you organize it into a week, now we have a system. If you think about the planets, Earth and Sun, and everything's orbiting the way it should be so nobody's running into each other, that works because everybody's got a rhythm to it. And so if you think of your business as the same way and you think of like an SOP or a process as a planet, you don't want this thing like randomly going all over the place. It's like, when do we do this? What do we do this? How do we do this? And this cadence needs to go into place. And this is the magic that can turn a playbook into something powerful for your business. So there should be predictability in your business. People like certainty. People like to know what's happening when in their jobs. And so when you provide that certainty based off of this cadence in your business, then now people are like, oh yeah, it's easy to be a project manager here. I follow the systems and processes. I do this. Sometimes there's some unique stuff that comes up, but that's okay. I can roll with it because I already have so much written down and already know how to do everything. So now I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking like, man, this sounds like a lot of work. It's going to take hours and hours. Like, I just do not have time for this. But I want to tell you that this exact process I worked through recently with a remodeler in Virginia. And I was like, okay, step one, we did. Step two, we did. We actually didn't even get to step two. And I said, okay, now that you know the power behind this system in order to put a playbook in your business for a project manager role, I said, now that you know the system, if I were to just hand you a pre-written playbook that's like totally done, would it actually work in your business? Would it be the way you wanted your business to run? And on a scale from 1 to 10, where would you rate it? And he was like, well, probably a 2 or 3, because it wouldn't be my standards. It wouldn't be my processes. It would kind of just be this generic thing that's kind of like a good idea. It's a suggestion. And that's why I don't give a full playbook to contractors, because what they're going to do is they're going to like, hey, cool, I got a whole playbook. They're going to throw it off and pass it on to their project manager, never look at it twice. And then their project manager is going to do the exact same thing. Oh yeah, I do that. I do that. Yep, sounds good. And then that's it. So that entire playbook did nothing in their business. So I asked him, I said, okay, we've only done step 1 and part of step 2. Like, we've gotten some concepts into behaviors, but that's it. We've not cleaned it up. We've not created cadence. We've literally not completed this process. I said, but if you would have rated my playbook that I would just like hand to you as a 2 or a 3, what would you consider your playbook right now? How would you rate that? And he was like, oh, at least a 7. And that's because it is his standards, his way of doing stuff, his business, and he wants to duplicate himself. And this is how you do it. Now, if you want me to work with you one-on-one and actually create your playbook with you, so that way it only takes you less than 3 hours, just go to Instagram or Facebook, the links are below, and just message me playbook, and I will get you all the information on how you and I can work together one-on-one, and I can help you create and implement a playbook within your business, so that way you can grow your business, get off the tools, and finally get the freedom that you want in your business. If you like this video, just hit that like button so I know that I can make more content like this, and I'll see you in another video.